The colony world of Haven sparkled like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. Established 30 years ago on the edge of explored space, Haven had grown from a small outpost into a thriving community of nearly 50,000 people. Fields of golden crops surrounded the main settlement, and the night sky glowed with the lights of orbiting stations where ships came and went with supplies and new colonists. On this particular morning, Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, Haven's pride and the largest vessel in their small defense fleet. The ship hummed with activity as the crew of 120 prepared for their routine patrol of the system's outer boundaries. "All systems ready, Captain," reported First Officer Robert Davis, a tall man with keen eyes that missed nothing. "Engineering confirms the new shield upgrades are operational." Miller nodded, running a hand through his graying hair. At 45, he had spent most of his adult life in space, protecting the colonies. "Very good. Take us out, steady as she goes." The Dauntless smoothly departed from Haven's orbital station, its engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. The crew worked efficiently at their stations, most having served together for years. They were family now, bound by duty and the vast emptiness between the stars. 3 days into their patrol route, Sensor Officer Mary Cooper frowned at her readings. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns at coordinates 227, Mark 39. It appears to be some kind of spatial anomaly." Miller moved to her station, studying the data. "How far?" "About 2 hours at standard speed, sir." Miller considered the information. The anomaly sat just beyond their usual patrol route in an uncharted sector. Protocol suggested caution, perhaps even calling for backup before investigating. But backup would take days to arrive from Haven, and by then, whatever caused the readings might be gone. "Alter course to investigate," Miller ordered. "But maintain yellow alert status. Something doesn't feel right about this." As the Dauntless approached the coordinates, the ship's systems began reporting interference. Communications flickered, and the sensors struggled to maintain clear readings. "Captain, I recommend we keep our distance," warned Security Chief Thomas Green. "These readings are unlike anything in our database." Miller nodded, about to order them to hold position when Cooper's console lit up with urgent alerts. "Multiple contacts appearing," she shouted. "They're emerging from the anomaly." The view screen showed 3 massive vessels materializing from what looked like tears in the fabric of space itself. Their design was unlike anything human eyes had seen before, sleek, black shapes with pulsing purple energy coursing through visible channels along their hulls. "Raise shields. Red alert," Miller commanded. "Communications, hail them on all frequencies." Before the communications officer could comply, the alien vessels fired. Beams of purple energy sliced through space toward the Dauntless. The first hit rocked the ship violently, nearly overloading the shields. "Shields at 40%, yelled the tactical officer. "Their weapons are penetrating our defenses." Miller gripped his chair as another blast hit. "Return fire. All weapons." The Dauntless fought back, its laser cannons and missile systems launching a desperate counterattack. But their weapons seemed ineffective against the alien vessel's advanced shielding. "Engine room reports critical damage," Davis shouted above the blaring alarms. "We're losing power." Miller made the only decision he could. "Set course for the anomaly. It's our only chance." As the Dauntless turned toward the spatial tear, another barrage hit them. Systems failed across the ship, and fires broke out on multiple decks. "Captain, they're pursuing," Cooper reported, her face illuminated by the red emergency lights. "And, they're broadcasting some kind of signal. It's interfering with our systems." Miller turned to the communications officer. "Send an emergency message to Haven. Tell them what happened here." With trembling hands, the young officer composed what would be the Dauntless' final transmission: "We are under attack. Unknown hostiles. cannot escape. Remember us." The message barely transmitted before another hit disabled their communications array completely. As the alien vessels surrounded the crippled Dauntless, Miller stood tall on his burning bridge. "All hands, prepare to be boarded. Remember your oaths. Remember Haven." The ship disappeared into the anomaly, pulled by both its failing engines and some unseen force from the alien vessels. Back on Haven, the emergency message arrived 3 days later. Search parties found no trace of the Dauntless or its crew, only empty space where the anomaly had been. The colony mourned their lost heroes, building a memorial with the names of all 120 souls aboard. Little did they know that for Captain Miller and his crew, their ordeal was just beginning. And 50 years later, Haven would learn exactly what had happened to their lost ship when it returned, bringing vengeance with it. 50 years passed since the disappearance of the Dauntless. Haven had grown from a small colony into a thriving world of over 3 million people. Modern buildings reached toward the sky, and a proper defense fleet orbited the planet, 12 ships, each more powerful than the Dauntless had ever been. Tom Wilson stood at the window of the Defense Ministry, watching ships come and go from the orbital stations. At 32, he was the youngest defense minister in Haven's history, appointed for his brilliant tactical mind and unwavering dedication to protecting his home. Minister Wilson called his assistant, breaking his thoughts. "The patrol fleet reports an unusual signal at the edge of the system." Tom frowned. "What kind of signal?" "Unknown, sir. It doesn't match any standard communication patterns." Tom followed his assistant to the command center, where officers hurried between stations under the glow of holographic displays. Admiral Fisher, a stern woman with silver hair, looked up as he entered. "Minister, we've detected an unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 227, she reported, pointing to a blinking dot on the main display. "It's not responding to hails." "How long until it reaches Haven?" Tom asked. "At its current speed, approximately 6 hours." Tom studied the readings. "Launch intercept ships. I want eyes on this vessel as soon as possible." 3 of Haven's fastest ships departed within minutes, racing toward the unknown visitor. 2 hours later, the first images arrived, causing a stunned silence to fall over the command center. The approaching ship was clearly of human design, but modified with strange, alien technology. Sections of its hull glowed with the same purple energy described in the last transmission of the Dauntless half a century ago. "It can't be," Admiral Fisher whispered. The communication officer suddenly straightened. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel." "On screen," Tom ordered. The message was simple, 3 words that sent chills through everyone present: "We have returned." Tom stared at the screen, his mind racing. Compare the ship's signature with historical records. After a tense minute, the computer confirmed what seemed impossible: the approaching vessel was indeed the Dauntless, somehow changed and modified with technology beyond human understanding. "Sir, what are your orders?" Admiral Fisher asked quietly. Tom took a deep breath. "Maintain defensive positions, but do not fire unless fired upon. Direct the ship to dock at Station 7, it's the most isolated, and we can lock it down if necessary." "And if they refuse?" "Then we'll know they're not really our lost brothers and sisters," Tom replied grimly. The modified Dauntless continued its approach, now escorted by Haven's defense ships. It followed their directions without question, making a perfect approach to Station 7. As it docked, security teams in heavy armor took positions around the airlock. Tom arrived at the station 30 minutes later, accompanied by his personal security detail. Admiral Fisher met him at the docking bay. "The ship has successfully docked," she reported. "Environmental scans show breathable atmosphere aboard, but also detect unknown energy signatures and materials." "Any signs of life?" Tom asked. 3 human life signs, sir." "Just 3. Tom absorbed this information. The Dauntless had left with a crew of 120. Now only 3 remained. "Open a channel to the ship," he ordered. After a brief pause, a voice responded, old, scratchy, but unmistakably human. "This is Captain James Miller of the Dauntless. Permission to come aboard?" Tom exchanged a shocked glance with Admiral Fisher. Captain Miller should be well over 90 years old by now, if he had somehow survived. "Permission granted, Captain," Tom replied. "Welcome home." The airlock began to cycle, and everyone held their breath as it slowly opened to reveal what had become of the lost crew of the Dauntless. The airlock door slid open with a hiss, revealing 3 figures standing in the midst of equalizing atmosphere. Security teams raised their weapons instinctively, then lowered them in shock at what they saw. Captain James Miller stood at the front, his back straight despite his apparent age. His face was deeply lined, his hair completely white, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. Behind him stood a woman and a man, Engineer Lisa Brown and Security Chief Mark Adams according to their worn uniform patches. All 3 survivors had visible modifications. Metal implants lined Miller's jaw and temple. Lisa's right arm was entirely mechanical, glowing with faint purple light at the joints. Mark's eyes were clearly artificial, silvery orbs that whirred quietly as they focused. "Defense Minister Wilson," Miller said, his voice stronger than his appearance suggested. "Thank you for not shooting us out of the sky." Tom stepped forward cautiously. "Captain Miller. Your return is unexpected." Miller smiled without humor. "That's one word for it." The survivors were escorted to a secure medical facility on the station. Doctors examined them while Tom and Admiral Fisher watched through observation windows. "Their modifications are beyond our technology," the chief medical officer reported. "The implants appear integrated with their nervous systems. And their cellular structure shows signs of extensive manipulation." Inside the examination room, Lisa spoke for the first time. "We don't have much time. The collectors know we escaped." "The collectors?" Tom questioned. Miller nodded grimly. "That's what we call them. The aliens who took us. They collect species, to study, to use, to enslave. We were prisoners for decades," Mark added, his artificial eyes focusing and refocusing. "They experimented on us. Most didn't survive." "How did you escape?" Admiral Fisher asked. "We learned their technology," Lisa replied. "Adapted to it. Used it against them. We stole back the Dauntless, what was left of it, and modified it with their own systems." Miller looked directly at Tom. "We came to warn you. The collectors know about human worlds now. And Haven is first on their list." "What do they want?" Tom asked. Miller's modified face showed genuine fear. "Everything. They want everything. And they're coming." Tom assigned his most trusted assistant, Anna Lee, to monitor the survivors. A former intelligence officer with keen instincts, Anna took her assignment seriously. She watched through security feeds as the 3 modified humans moved about their assigned quarters on the station. "Something isn't right," Anna told Tom after 3 days of observation. "They never sleep. And last night, I caught them accessing data terminals outside their clearance level." Tom frowned. "What were they looking for?" "Information about other human colonies. Population figures, defense capabilities, coordinates." That evening, Tom confronted Captain Miller in the station's secure conference room. The old captain sat calmly, his implants occasionally blinking with purple light. "Why do you need data on our colonies?" Tom demanded. Miller's expression remained neutral. "To determine which ones the collectors will target first. To prepare defenses." "And you couldn't simply ask for this information? Would you have given it to us?" Miller countered. "Anna, standing by the door, noticed how Miller's mechanical implants pulsed more rapidly when he spoke about the collectors. "There's more you're not telling us," she said. Miller turned to her, his eyes evaluating. After a moment, he nodded. "Yes. We've brought the collector's weakness with us, specialized weapons that can penetrate their shielding technology." "That sounds convenient," Tom said skeptically. "It wasn't convenient," Lisa Brown said as she entered the room uninvited. "It cost us decades of suffering to obtain." Tom noticed how Lisa moved, too fluid, too precise for a normal human. Medical scans had revealed her skeletal structure was reinforced with unknown alloys. "Tell him the rest," Anna prompted. "Tell him about the Guardians." Miller's eyes narrowed. "You've been thorough." "Hidden transmissions from your ship," Anna explained. "We detected them." Miller sighed. "The Guardians are another race, the enemies of the collectors. They found us drifting after we escaped. They helped us. Enhanced us. In return, they ask for our assistance against a common enemy. So we trade one alien master for another?" Tom asked. Before Miller could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Admiral Fisher's voice came over the comm system, urgent and clear, Defense Minister to command. "We have an unknown vessel entering the system. It matches the descriptions of collector technology." Miller stood. "They found us sooner than I expected. Now you'll see we're telling the truth." The command center hummed with nervous energy as officers rushed between stations. The main display showed a sleek black vessel approaching Haven, its hull lined with the same purple energy channels that marked the modified Dauntless. "Collector scout ship," Miller said as he entered with Tom and Anna. "Advance reconnaissance before their main fleet arrives." Admiral Fisher turned to them. "It's not responding to any hails and is moving faster than our fastest interceptors." "It won't," Miller replied. "They don't negotiate. They take what they want." Tom made his decision. "Launch all available ships. Battle stations throughout the colony." Miller stepped forward. "Let us take the Dauntless out. The modifications we've made can counter their technology." After a moment's hesitation, Tom nodded. "Admiral Fisher will accompany you with a security team." Within 30 minutes, Haven's defense fleet formed a protective barrier around the planet, with the modified Dauntless taking the lead position. The collector ship approached without slowing, its weapon systems visibly charging. "All ships, defensive formation Delta," Admiral Fisher ordered from her position on the Dauntless bridge. "Hold fire until my command." The collector vessel fired first, beams of purple energy slicing toward Haven's ships. Two smaller vessels exploded instantly, their shields useless against the advanced weapons. "Now!" Miller shouted, and the Dauntless responded by firing streams of blue-white energy unlike anything in Haven's arsenal. The beams struck the collector ship, causing its shields to flicker and fail in several sections. Haven's remaining ships concentrated fire on these weakened areas, their conventional weapons finally finding purchase. The battle raged for 20 minutes. 3 more Haven ships were destroyed, but the modified weapons of the Dauntless turned the tide. Finally, the collector vessel listed to one side, its engines failing. "Boarding parties ready," Miller ordered. "We need to capture their data cores." After securing the crippled alien ship, what they found inside horrified even the veterans among Haven's forces. Thousands of stasis pods lined the cargo holds, each designed to contain a human specimen. "This was just a collection vessel," Lisa explained grimly. "A small advance force." Admiral Fisher examined a console displaying alien script. "How many more are coming?" Mark Adams' artificial eyes whirred as he studied the data. "According to this, hundreds." Later, in Haven's secure council chamber, Miller revealed the full truth. The Guardians need human worlds as forward bases in their war against the collectors. They've been fighting for millennia. So we're caught between two alien powers, Tom concluded. Yes, Miller admitted. Both want to use us. But at least the Guardians offer us a chance to survive. As the council debated their options, alarm sirens wailed once more across Haven. Anna worked through the night, analyzing the communications intercepted from the Dauntless. When she finally broke the encryption, her face paled at what she discovered. Tom, you need to see this, she said, transferring the data to a secure tablet. The Guardians aren't saviors. They plan to use human worlds as battlegrounds and humans as frontline soldiers. Tom studied the translated communications with growing horror. They're breeding a human army. Together, they confronted Miller in his quarters. The old captain was standing motionless by the window, staring at the stars. His implants glowed brighter than usual. You lied to us, Tom said flatly. The Guardians are just as dangerous as the Collectors. Miller turned slowly. For a moment, his eyes seemed different, more human, less mechanical. Not lied. Not entirely. The Guardian fleet approaching our system isn't coming to help, is it? Anna asked. They're coming to collect their investment. Miller's face contorted in what appeared to be pain. We fight it. The Guardian control. They modified us extensively. Parts of us are no longer human. You're being controlled? Tom asked, understanding dawning. Yes and no, Miller said, his voice strained. We have moments of clarity. Lisa, Mark, and I, we've been fighting their programming. The Guardians think we're their loyal servants, but we've been planning something else. A technician burst into the room before Tom could respond. Minister. Long-range sensors have detected multiple vessels entering the system. It's a massive fleet. At the command center, the situation became clear. A collector armada approached from one direction, at least 50 vessels of various sizes. From the opposite direction came 20 sleek, silver ships with blue energy signatures, the Guardian fleet. Miller looked at the display grimly. The Guardians detected the collector advance. Both fleets will be here within hours. We need to evacuate the planet, Admiral Fisher urged. There's no time, Miller replied. But there is another option. He pointed to the modified Dauntless. The ship contains a weapon, something we developed by combining both alien technologies. It exploits a fundamental weakness in both races' power systems. What does it do? Tom asked. It creates an energy disruption field. Their ships will be disabled. And your ship? Anna asked, seeing what Miller wasn't saying. Miller's partly mechanical face attempted a smile. The Dauntless won't survive the weapon's activation. Neither will we. But after 50 years of captivity and modification, this is our choice, our final mission. The skies above Haven turned into a battlefield as the two alien fleets engaged each other. Purple beams from collector ships clashed with blue energy weapons from Guardian vessels. The space around Haven lit up with explosions as ships from both sides were destroyed. On the surface, people watched in terror as flashes of light brightened the night sky. Occasional debris burned through the atmosphere, creating streaks of fire. Both fleets are fully engaged, Admiral Fisher reported as she studied the tactical display in Haven's command center. They're ignoring our ships for now, focused on destroying each other. Tom looked at Miller. How do we deploy your weapon? It must be activated from the Dauntless itself, Miller explained. The core systems are tied to our biological implants. Tom understood what wasn't being said. You're not planning to come back. Miller shook his head. After what was done to us, there's no going back. This is our redemption. Within the hour, a small team boarded a fast transport vessel. Tom and Anna insisted on accompanying Miller, Lisa, and Mark to the Dauntless, which waited in orbit above Haven. If this works, Miller said as they approached his modified ship, humanity will have time to prepare before either race returns. The weapon will set them back decades. Once aboard the Dauntless, the three survivors moved with purpose toward the engine room. Tom and Anna followed, watching as panels opened automatically in response to the survivors' implants. In the heart of the ship, a pulsing core of mixed purple and blue energy swirled within a containment field. Lisa began working at a console while Mark secured the room. The device is powered by our own life force, Miller explained. The modifications they made to us, we're turning them against both races. There must be another way, Anna protested. Miller shook his head. This is our choice. Our vengeance. As the alien battle raged closer to Haven, Miller turned to Tom and Anna. You need to leave now. The transport will take you back to the surface. Tom gripped Miller's partly mechanical hand. Haven will remember what you did. All of you. Just make sure humanity is ready next time, Miller replied. Neither the Collectors nor the Guardians will forget this defeat. After Tom and Anna departed, the three survivors of the original Dauntless crew stood around the pulsing core. For our lost crewmates, Lisa said softly. For humanity, Mark added. Captain Miller placed his hand on the activation panel. For Haven. From the surface, Tom and Anna watched as a wave of energy expanded outward from the Dauntless. As it touched each alien ship, their lights flickered and died. The massive fleets drifted powerless, their weapons silenced. In the center of it all, the Dauntless shone briefly like a newborn star before vanishing in a final flash of light. 1 month later, Tom stood before Haven's new memorial. The old monument had been replaced with a larger,